Because Jesus said, all you have to do to get to heaven is be like children. So it's really important that what you do is show your parents and everybody that you meet when you leave here how to get to heaven. Because us adults, we sometimes forget that. You know, we get so complicated with life and get wound up on things that really aren't important when you think about it. So we got to remember how to be like kids again, like you. So I just wanted you kids to know that we need you in our parish because you teach us adults how to get to heaven because we forget how to be simple and think simply, okay? Now, I want to know a little bit about what you learned in all your preparation. What do you think the most important thing you learned about receiving communion? Don't worry about being nervous. Your parents are 1,000 times more nervous than you. Okay, so don't worry about that. What do you think? What do you think is the most important? What's the funnest part of preparing for First Communion? Okay. You know it. You know it. Okay. That bread that you are going to eat? Did you learn about the bread and the wine? Okay. And what did you learn about the bread and the wine? Yeah.
That the wine is God's blood and the bread is God's body.
The bread is Jesus' body and the wine is Jesus' blood. Right. And when does that happen during Mass? You know, because you watch it all the time. Right? Yeah.
At the end.
No, right in the middle, actually, not the end. The end is when we have our work to do. We'll talk about that. Okay. But in the middle of Mass, when Father holds up the bread, and then he holds up the wine, then that is when that change occurs in a way that it's hard to understand because it still looks like bread and still looks like wine, right? But every time we do it, okay, every time we do it, we're reminded of the life of Jesus, and the life of Jesus comes back to this table. Now, very simply, remember the movie you saw about, what was that grandma's name? Nona? Did you see the movie about Nona?
Yeah.
Right. And what was the boy's name? Remember his name? I don't remember. Do you remember his name?
Mario.
Mario. Okay. Mario and Nona were making bread. And that became such a special thing for them to always be making bread together in special occasions. And remember, they made the bread together, and Mario was so excited about it. And then what happened to Nona? Nona died, right? Nona died, and Mario's first communion was coming up. And there was no one to make the bread, because Mario always did it with Nona, and now Nona wasn't around anymore. So the whole family got together with Nona's recipe, and for Mario's first communion, they made Nona's bread. And everybody was invited to share Nona's bread. Remember that? Even though Nona wasn't there anymore, it certainly felt like Nona was there, because they were eating her bread and thinking about Nona all the time that they were making and eating that bread. Keep that movie in mind, because during our Mass, okay, when that bread and wine changes, we begin to think of everything that Jesus did. And one of the things that Jesus did was show us how to live, right? And how did Jesus live? What did he respect people? Yeah, he did, right? He respected people. He was always respectful, but always honest, right? Okay. And so one of the things we need to do is when we leave here, eating that bread and that wine, which we know is Jesus' body and blood, reminds us that we need to leave here and be like Jesus, right? We need to be just like him and love other people and respect people and treat people just like Jesus did. And when we celebrate Mass here, we're reminded to do that. At the very end of Mass, I usually say some words like, go in peace and share the gospel with everyone. And what I'm really saying, what that really means is go take that Jesus that came here with us, and with the Jesus that's in your heart, you go out and change people's lives by acting like Jesus yourself. Got that? Okay? Now, your parents forget all that. So what you need, because life gets complicated, all right? So when you get back home today, you talk about this with your parents in different ways that you could do it. Okay? Because we're so proud of you and we need you. All you young kids, to remind us that all we need to do is act like children. Act like you. And we could get to heaven too. Got that? Okay, go to your seats while I try to get up. Okay?